Hey, what's up everybody, Axel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and we're going to be talking about the new Supernova Plus Plus Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel medal that just dropped today on the global server. So we're going to go ahead and do the thing we always do when we talk about banners. We're going to talk about the banner first, then the medal, then the draw odds, and finally wrap it up with my thoughts and recommendations on whether or not I think you should be pulling for this medal or not. So first things first, you have until February 24th to decide if you want to pull for this medal. So that's 10 total days to decide if you want to pull, if you need to save the jewels in order to get him. So there's some good time, so don't feel rushed that you have to do it right now because this banner is going to be around for 10 days. With every single pull, you're going to be getting 3 Kingdom Hearts 3 medals, which is pretty sweet because they can include other supernovas, and they at the very least are tier 7 or higher medals, which is good because that makes them instant trade fodder for the draw points banner. So good stuff there. With every single pull, you're also going to be getting 1 Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel trait medal, which is really good because if you have to mercy the medal, get him in 5 pulls, you're at the very least getting 5 traits, which fills up every single slot on his trait board. So that's pretty good that you get a trait medal with every single pull. Then you're also going to be getting 6 general medals that are at least 5-star or higher. Now, really not too much to say about this one. Speaking of the whole pool of the banner in general, it does not include any of the more recent supernova medals. So we're back to, unfortunately, to the bad pool where it goes as far as Kingdom Hearts 3 Roxas. So we're still missing a lot of stuff like Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku, Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B. We're missing the new supernova medals, so unfortunately we're back to the standard pool, which consists of a lot of medals that are just okay at this point in the game. So not much to say about those 5-star or higher medals. You also get 10 VIP coins with every pull. And again, VIP coins in this game essentially translates to just traits. But you don't have to spend it on just the Lee/Axel alone. So let's say you do 5 pulls and then you get pretty much perfect traits or the traits you want within the 5 trade medals that you automatically get from the banner. You can use those 10 VIP coins to pull for a different medal. So for example, I would like to pull on traits for the Supernova Plus Plus Kingdom Hearts 3 Aqua because she doesn't have perfect traits. So the VIP coins give you just a little bit of flexibility in choosing which traits that you want to buy. So cool stuff there. And then finally, with every single pull, you're going to be getting 2 speed gems. Pretty standard stuff for us at this point because every single banner that's come out recently has come with some form of gem that you're able to get from every single pull. So good stuff there. To wrap up the actual talk about the banner, you get the Supernova Plus Plus Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel in 5 pulls. So that's pretty good because we're back to the 5 pull mercy where 15,000 jewels gives you a 100% chance of getting the medal, as opposed to the Remind banners where, if you remember my chart for Xion, it was only about a 27% chance of getting 1 copy of that Xion within 15,000 jewels. So I'm glad we're back to this 5-pull mercy, especially for a fantastic medal like this. Keep in mind, though, it is a 5-pull mercy, so if you get the new Lee on the 3rd pull, you're going to have to do 5 more pulls in order to get the medal again, to get a 2nd copy. So remember, it's within 5 pulls. It is not you get 1 at 5 pulls. So just keep that in mind there. Alright, let's go ahead and jump down here and talk about the medal, which has a very, very sweet set of buffs. So, for the medal itself, it's going to be an upright speed medal, and it's going to have a maximum strength roughly of about 40,000, which is pretty much the standard for today. You at the very least have to be cracking 40,000 strength in order to be relevant here. It's going to hit all targets, and it costs 1 gauge in order to activate its special attack. Of course, it's going to be tier 10, and it's got a multiplier of, again, once we remove the fact that it's a tier 10, that multiplier shows up as times 15.35, going up to as high as 18.89, which is actually a pretty high multiplier. So that's pretty sweet that he's got a lot of damage associated with him. Reading the medal text itself, it deals 5 hits, which is sort of irrelevant. We'll get to that in just a little bit. And then for 2 turns, which again is super broken to have 2-turn buffing, you're going to get speed medal strength plus 2,500. And then you're also going to be getting self buffs for upright strength. So you get perfect upright strength just from casting this medal alone. Moving on to the debuffs, it actually gives perfect debuffs for speed. So minus 15 general defense, minus 15 upright defense, and minus 15 speed defense. Meaning that for the Axel medal himself, he takes care of his defenses, which is really, really good because general defense down is really hard to come by, and then upright defense down on top of that is just super sweet to be able to do that there. Reading the rest of the text here, he gives special attack bonus plus 200% with his cast, but that becomes a little less relevant because we have a lot of supernova attacks that give plus 300% special attack bonus now. And then he gives count plus or minus 0. So going back to the 5 hits thing, it doesn't really matter much except for Lux reasons, that because the count is plus minus 0. No amount of hits is going to change how it affects the enemy's counter. So if it's a red counter, blue counter, doesn't matter. This metal's special attack does not affect counter. He does have a damage plus condition, which is going to be based on how high your HP is. Now, this is an okay damage multiplier, or I'm sorry, a damage plus trait to have, because high HP is very easily fixed with things like Kingdom Hearts 3 Naminé or Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi A or HD Xion, which completely restores your HP. Really, where this falls into problems is if you have an enemy that attacks you in the middle of your own turn. So for example, if we go back to the Keyblade War fights, the Envy fight and the Gula fight, both of those hit you in the middle of your own turn and decrease your HP. So in that case, this Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel would be hitting the lower end of its multiplier. So if you plan on using this medal, make sure you have a means of restoring your HP every single turn, or in the middle of your turn if you need to, in case, again, something like that Gula or Envy comes along that hits you in the middle of the turn. So damage plus higher HP is pretty good because it's easy to fix, but can be very easily disrupted, getting you down to that 15.35 multiplier, which is not nearly at standard levels by today's standards. He gives gauge plus 3, which is really good because the gauge cost for activating him is only 1. So by activating this medal, you essentially restore 2 gauges, which is a really good thing to have because that allows him to add sort of like a healing ability to restore some gauges with his special attack. So that's pretty good that it gives you plus 2 gauges. It gives you a little bit more leeway when it comes to using like reverse blades, for example. And then finally for his text, he's got next metal group attack. Now this is a pretty weird thing to have because the most recent time that we've seen this is going to be with the Supernova Plus Ava that came out. And everyone was so jazzed on it. They're just like, oh, you can use it to make all these single targets, multi-targets, or random targets, multi-targets. But really, there's not a lot of good options for that. So this particular ability of making the next metal group attack has really not seen too much success in my personal opinion. So it's kind of like a nice thing to add on there, but I don't think it adds too much to the medal's value. Moving on to the Supernova attack, it is a hit-all attack that has Mastery. So remember, with Mastery, we don't know the damage multiplier, but it just does more damage is really what that means. And then we are back to the 2-turn buffs, giving Speed Metal Strength plus 5,000 for 2 turns, which is really good. We're going to go into that in just a little bit when we talk about my recommendations. For the rest of the Supernova attack, it gives you self-buffing. So you pretty much can activate the Supernova and bump your strength all the way back to pretty much perfect, giving yourself plus 15 general strength, 15 upright metal strength, and then 15 speed strength, which is pretty much the maximum as long as you're starting from 0. So it's really good that his Supernova attack can give you insta-buffs for himself whenever it needs to. It's going to give special attack bonus plus 300%, like we were saying earlier. We have a lot of Supernova attacks that have that plus 300%, so we're up to standards now with the Supernova attack. And triggers before slot 2 is activated when defending in PvP. Again, just a good place to have this because it's like a buffer and an attacker. So you buff with something like Kingdom Hearts 3 Naminé or Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi A first, and then this medal receives all of those buffs and is able to buff the stuff that comes downstream. Moving on to the draw odds. So if we take a look at the pool of medals that we're able to pull from this banner, unfortunately, aside from the new Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel, there's really nothing that's particularly worth pulling for. So unfortunately, we're back to the format where the newest Supernova you can get that's not the banner medal is going to be that Kingdom Hearts 3 Roxas. So we're still missing a lot of medals from this pool. We don't have access to Dark Baymax, to Dark Riku, to Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B. So unfortunately, we're back to this very limited pool, meaning that the only thing we're looking to pull is going to be this new Supernova Plus Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel. So of course, as always, I already crunched out the math. So in terms of getting it as one of the 6 general 5-star or higher medals, it's going to be 1 every 606 medals, or if you calculate for the idea that you get 6 general medals per pull, it's 1 every 101 pulls. So that means in terms of mercy, 1 every 21 people is going to be getting this medal early. In terms of the Kingdom Hearts 3 medals that you get, so remember you get 3 of them per pull, and it's represented by this guarantee A. So if you crunch out the math for that, you're going to get an additional Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel 1 every 463 medals, or 1 every 154 pulls. So with those odds being as bad as they are, if you're planning on pulling for this medal, make sure you have enough jewels to mercy it, because those odds are definitely stacked against you, with the trade-off being that if you can spend those 15,000 jewels, you get it instantly. It's not going to be like the Remind banners where after 15,000 jewels, you only had a 27% chance of being able to pull for either the Xion or the Rage Form Sora. 15,000 jewels gives you an 100% chance to get the new Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel, and that is always a good thing. So I'm really glad that we are back to 5 pull mercies. So wrapping up our analysis with my final thoughts and recommendations on whether or not I think you should pull for this medal. This medal is a great medal, and the banner itself is also really good. So looking at the banner again, I'm glad we're back to 5 pull mercies, because remember that during the Remind banner I gave a quick analysis on the Xion medal. For 15,000 jewels with this banner, you are guaranteeing yourself a 100% shot of getting the featured medal. When it came to the Remind banners, after 15,000 jewels, you only had a 27% chance of getting what you wanted. So the fact that we're back to 5 pull mercies, where after you spend X amount of jewels, you get exactly what you're looking for, is great. I'm glad we're back to this format, especially with a really great medal like this. However, the trade-off is that we are back to the pool of medals where, unfortunately, they're not as good. We are missing still a lot of tier 9s that are relevant to today. So, for example, we are missing Kingdom Hearts 3 Xion A, we're missing Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi B, we are missing the Dark Riku, so we're still missing a lot of relevant medals from being in the general pool of medals that you can pull from. So that's kind of the trade-off. You got the 5 pull mercy, but everything else that's not the featured medal is essentially garbage unless you're new. However, talking about the medal itself, it's really strong. So let's go ahead and redisplay his buffs here and his special attack. Okay. So looking at this here, in terms of his multiplier, it's a really good multiplier. Being as high as 18.89 is pretty much almost scratching a 19 multiplier, which makes it one of the highest multipliers in the entire game. Now, with that, the trade-off is that he does have a damage plus condition where you have to be at maximum HP in order to hit that maximum multiplier. If you get literally dinked in the middle of your own Keyblade attacks, and then you have less HP in the middle of your turn, activating this Axel will unfortunately not hit that 18.89 multiplier. So for example, if we look at the Keyblade War, both Envy and Gula attack you in the middle of your own turn and bring your HP down. If you don't have a means of restoring that HP in the middle of your turn, unfortunately this Lee/Axel, if it's later down the line, will not be hitting that 18.89 multiplier, making his attack weaker, and essentially if it gets as low as that 15.54 that we talked about earlier, it's just not going to be up to today's standards in terms of multiplier damage. Moving on to his actual buffs, he's got a great set of buffs. So I think one of the best things about this medal is the fact that he can lower general defense down and upright defense down and speed defense down by a perfect 15. That is the maximum amount of debuffing that you can do, and I find this very strong because there's really not a lot of medals that have that capacity. So I have this filtered to only give minus general strength and minus upright and reverse strength, as well as filtering only for tier 10s right there. Okay, so if we look at what's available in terms of my medal pool, I've got Rock Troll, I've got Dissidia Leon, I've got Second Form Sora, but the trade-off is when we look at these medals in terms of how much they actually debuff. So It's only general defense down minus 10. General defense down is the most important defense down to get, and the fact that these tier 10s, which are still really good, this Leon, the Rock Troll, second form Sora, they're all really good. Giving only minus 10 general defense just isn't really cutting it because you have to have that minus 15. That's why we always say you have to start your Keyblade off with like a generic buffer that gives you all the buffs and debuffs that you need. The fact that this Lee has that inherently is really, really good because it means you can make a setup that only has to focus on getting your general strength up every single turn and not need to worry about the general defense, which again is the hardest buff to come across. So I think it's really great that he's got the capacity to pretty much take care of himself in terms of the defense debuffing on the enemy. Moving on to his supernova attack, I think it's really great that it has the ability to give you strength back, that it can give you general strength, upright strength, speed strength, all the way back up to 15 is really, really good because it allows you to buff on command, and I find that very, very strong, especially in fights against things like Barrier Masters or the Gula fight in the Keyblade War. In both of those fights, there's the potential that you can lose all your buffs in the middle of your turn, which is really bad because it means anything that comes after you being debuffed is not doing as much damage unless you can restore those buffs. This supernova attack takes care of that restoration instantly without you having to waste any gauges, nothing. It's a free buff in the middle of your turn, which can be very, very strong and help you pass a lot of difficult high-end content. So I think having that as a supernova attack is really good because when you pair that supernova attack and the special attack, this medal pretty much takes care of itself in terms of buffs. It'll give you all the upright buffs. It'll give you all the general strength and defense buffs. It'll give you the speed buffs. So a medal that's able to take care of itself like that is really, really strong in my opinion. Moving on to the really important part of this is that actually it's a 2-turn buff. So both its regular special attack and its supernova attack give a 2-turn buff. We've seen this before with Supernova Elsa, the most recent one that came out in November, and that medal is still one of the best medals in the entire format. Being able to give a 2-turn buff is really strong because it allows you to stack more strength without adding additional medals. So for example, let's go ahead, I already cranked some math out. With 1 Lee alone, no extra attack, after turn 1's over, you are at plus 7,500 speed medal strength. During the second turn, when you cast him again, you're at plus 10,000 with just 1 Lee, no extra attack. Now let's say you gave this Lee extra attack. So after turn 1, you're at 10k strength for speed medals. And then after turn 2, you're at 15k. That's really, really strong. With just 1 medal and 1 trait, you can get that high is really good. Alright, let's make it even sweeter with something that a lot of people already have. A copy medal with extra attack. So if you have 1 Lee with extra attack and then 1 copy medal with extra attack, after turn 1 you are at 15k strength for speed medals. At turn 2 you are at plus 25,000 with just 2 medals. To be able to get yourself buffed up to plus 25,000 medal strength for speed medals with 2 medals alone is really, really strong. We've seen this with the Elsa and it is completely crushing PvP, PvE, lots of content just because it's able to give so much strength with just a few medals on hand. So it's really, really strong in terms of being able to give speed medal strength. This medal also pairs well with a lot of great speed medals. So for example, if we look at our medals here, in terms of what is a speed medal, it pairs well with, let's go ahead and filter this to strength actually. So it pairs well with medals like Ultimate Form Sora. Remember that Ultimate Form Sora has the ability to ignore attribute and always hit for weakness. To be able to get that strength from that Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel, the newest Supernova ++ one, is really, really strong. This medal also, the Lee, makes speed medals really, really good because you can have a great Sleeping Lion setup. So for example, if you have Rage Form Sora as a copy medal that copies that Lee, you're getting, again, crazy amount of strength. So Sleeping Lion back on the rise because of this new Lee. Now, one medal that I actually don't have on hand that actually works perfect with this medal, with the Lee, is actually going to be the new Supernova Plus Plus TVA. If you have the new Supernova Plus Plus TVA, I'm pretty much going to say that you have to get this Axel. And the reason behind that is because that group attack thing, the next metal group attack thing that I was talking about earlier, which is normally irrelevant, becomes very relevant when it comes to having that new TVA medal. So, Ruben, I'm going to borrow yours in order for display for this video. So the biggest weakness with this Supernova Plus Plus TVA, in my opinion, is the fact that it is single target, as shown right there. Now, as an upright speed medal, you can imagine that pairing it with the new Axel becomes very, very good for the Sleeping Lion Keyblade, because you could have this in slot 5 and then have the Axel in slot 4, and that just becomes really strong because you take this super strong medal with this really high multiplier and then you make it multi-target. So if you have this Terra, Ven, and Aqua, I'm pretty much going to say that getting this new Lee is going to be more or less mandatory because of the fact that these two medals work very well together. The Lee will buff this medal, give it group attack, and then this medal has the ability to restore the Lee's Supernova attack, giving you 5,000 more speed metal strength. That's really, really strong. So in terms of what my recommendation is, if you're able to pull for this medal, I would highly, highly recommend it. Remember that Elsa came out in November. We are in the middle of February right now. That's only 3 months later, and she's still one of the best medals in the format, and I expect this Axel/Lee to follow suit, where he's going to be one of the best medals in the format. Now, as always, I recommend you wait till the end, towards the end of the banner, to see everything that's out first before you start pulling. Remember back to the second form Sora time when you can get him for 5 pulls? I thought that was great. And then shortly after that, Elsa came out, and in terms of how great the two medals are now, Elsa is much better than second form Sora, and those two medals were pretty close in terms of when their banners came out. So yes, it is a great banner to pull from, it's a great medal to pull for, but really waiting is always going to be one of your best options, just because you can see everything that's out, you get a preview to what the next banner is, and you can know where to spend your jewels. So if you don't need it right now, if you're passing content just fine, wait out the 9 days and just kind of see if you still want him by the end of it. However, no matter what, if you pull, the general goal is to stay above 15,000 jewels. This is a great medal, easily worth 15,000 jewels, but if you dip too low, you might put yourself at risk for not being able to pull for something amazing that's coming out soon. So if possible, try and stay above 15,000 jewels. If you have to dip a bit below that just to get this medal, I could understand because of how great this medal is, but just keep that in mind. 15,000 jewels is roughly the safe amount to have. So with that being said, I really think it's a great medal. If you have TVA, the new Supernova Plus Plus one, it's pretty much a mandatory pull for you. Otherwise, for everyone else, it's still going to be a great pull, and you can get a lot of utility and use out of it with a lot of the things that I talked about. With its Supernova attack that restores buffs, its ability to debuff, the 2-turn speed metal strength increase. It's really, really good and really, really strong for today's meta. So with that being said, that is my full analysis of this Lee. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. If you want to join my Discord and ask some questions, get some quest help, show off your pulls and traits, go ahead and join it. It's in that yellow box right below the video there. But as always, again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, take it easy.